welcome to ILTV's Evening Update. I'm Aaron Porras here with the latest news from Israel. Speaking in a private interview with the AFP, Syrian President Bashar al-Assad is making some broad claims that the international community completely fabricated last week's chemical attack in the Idlib province to justify United States strikes on Syrian forces. He went on to insist that his regime turned over all their chemical weapons years ago. Assad said, quote, "Definitely, 100% for us, it's fabrication. Our impression is that the West, mainly the United States, is hand in glove with the terrorists. They fabricated the whole story in order to have a pretext for the attack," end quote. The chemical weapons attack in question resulted in nearly 90 dead, including 31 children. Pushing further, Assad went on to accuse the United States' recent airstrikes on ISIS targets of killing hundreds, many of whom are allegedly civilians. Syrian army forces say the airstrike last night by United States coalition forces hit a poison gas supply belonging to the Islamic State, resulting in the release of a toxic substance. The United States maintains that Assad is indeed fully responsible for last week's chemical attack in Idlib, and as for the latest accusations, United States Air Force Colonel John Dorian said that the coalition hadn't carried out any airstrikes in the alleged area at that time. In a statement to Reuters, Dorian said, quote, "The Syrian claim is incorrect and likely intentional misinformation," end quote. The IDF has just conducted another overnight raid in the Palestinian village of Silwad in the West Bank. During the raid, IDF forces confiscated 85,000 shekels or $23,000 in cash and 3 stolen cars. Last week, the IDF carried out a similar raid in Silwad after a 21-year-old resident of the town killed one soldier and injured another in a vehicular terror attack. The army released a statement saying the raid was part of a concept of expanded prevention for taking action against all the circles of support for the terrorist and his family. The IDF is also conducting a crackdown on the illicit West Bank weapons trade and so far has confiscated over 100 guns. Elsewhere in the West Bank, the army also arrested 6 Palestinians suspected of throwing rocks and taking part in violent demonstrations. President Rivlin has denounced a column in the left-leaning daily newspaper Haaretz as defamation. Yesterday, Haaretz published an opinion piece by journalist Yossi Klein accusing the religious Zionist movement of being worse than the Lebanese terror group Hezbollah and conspiring to ethnically cleanse the West Bank of Palestinians. The president took to Facebook saying, quote, that Yossi Klein's words are defamation that exposes a vast hatred and undermines any capacity to dialogue or criticize, end quote. Adding that, quote, religious Zionism is part of this land, better and more rooted than all of its slanderers, end quote. In his column, Klein wrote that, quote, the national religious are dangerous, more dangerous than Hezbollah, more than drivers in car ramming attacks or kids with scissors. The Arabs can be neutralized, but they cannot. What do they want? To rule the country and cleanse it of Arabs? End quote. Klein has drawn widespread criticism for his column, most notably from Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who called it disgraceful, and from Minister of Defense Avigdor Lieberman, who has called for a national boycott of Haaretz. China has just announced its support for the creation of a Palestinian state. A few hours ago, China's Foreign Minister Wang Yi called for the establishment of an independent Palestinian state after meeting with Palestinian Foreign Minister Riyad al-Maliki. Yi was quoted as saying that, quote, this year marks the 70th anniversary of the United Nations passing of Palestine-Israel Partition Plan. According to the resolution at that time, Israel had the right to statehood, Palestine also had the right to statehood. However, after 70 years, what we can see is that the Palestinian Brothers have yet to establish an independent country with full sovereignty. This is unfair. This kind of historical injustice must be corrected and cannot continue, end quote. Chinese envoys occasionally visit Israel and the Palestinian territories, but have traditionally played only a minor role in mediating Middle Eastern conflicts, despite their reliance on the region for fossil fuels. Last month, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu took a large delegation to China to meet with top government and business officials in an effort to bolster diplomatic and trade relations. Ahead of a planned meeting in Washington with United States President Donald Trump, Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas is apparently attempting again to reconcile differences between his party in Ramallah and the Hamas terror organization in the Gaza Strip. Abbas said he would take unprecedented steps to end the political division between the two organizations. He didn't explain what those steps were, but a Hamas spokesman has already fired back at the Palestinian leader's comments, saying, quote, the language of threats and dictating orders is unacceptable. Hamas, the internationally recognized terror organization, and Abbas's Fatah party essentially split the areas under control of the Palestinian Authority, making it difficult for Abbas to claim that he speaks for the whole of the Palestinian people. especially since Hamas violently ousted almost all prominent Fatah members in 2007 from the Gaza Strip during a bloody coup. Further, Hamas and the Palestinian Authority under Abbas have different goals with respect to the Israel-Palestinian conflict. Abbas seeks a Palestinian state consisting of the West Bank, Gaza, East Jerusalem, and land swaps around the 1967 borderlines. Hamas essentially wants Israel to cease to exist and to be replaced by an Islamic regime. Repeated attempts to reunite the two Palestinian factions since 2007 have all failed.
That's all for now. Stay tuned on ILTV.tv for our main daily broadcast playing after this. I'm Aaron Porras, and see you next time with our morning briefing from Israel at 8 a.m. Eastern Time.